And we're live. So are you on the Ben and Sweetie Show. Welcome to the news review segment on the AM Show.
Well, here we go. Let me bring in our guests very quickly, both of them joining us virtually. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, he is a political scientist. He is also head for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. We also have Dr. Jabir joining the conversation as well. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. Good morning, City. And good morning to our viewers. And of course, my colleague at the other side.
All right. Doc, you know how we do it. It's a Wednesday morning.
Yes.
What are your thoughts for us? I know you've been following the parliamentary proceedings. I know you followed everything else, the vettings and all that. What is on your mind this morning?
Yeah, this morning I want to look at something which I've titled The Price That Politicians Pay for Not Criticizing a Government of Their Own. What am I looking at? I think you and I are alive to the fact that some politicians from the MPP have started talking about the rule of Nana Akufo-Addo. The fact that he didn't listen to advice, the fact that he had some actions taken wrongly, and the rest of them. If you put all together, it gives you an idea that there were a lot of things going wrong, but people within the party failed to stand up and then speak for the world to know what was happening. Let us remember that when you're looking at governance, it's nothing but what the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to run the affairs of the state. You can only do this when you have stakeholder participation. And by this, we're talking about those who matter in the scheme of things relative to the subject. You involve them, and you involve them to get their ideas, get their suggestions and criticisms. Let us remember that criticisms are nothing but the oils that grease the wheels of governance, without which governance will grind to a halt. So one would have thought that things that were going wrong within the MPP, people would muster the courage and then speak about them. If there were wrong decisions of the government, they would get the courage to tell Mr. President that, hey, Mr. President, you are getting it wrong and all that. Today, they failed to do that. And we are seeing a whole lot of people coming out and speaking by the day about the criticisms, about what went wrong and all that. This is the price that politicians pay when they refuse to criticize a government of their own. They only come back to lament, and then we have what? All the lamentations. I am sorry in that they are lamenting today. We will listen to them, but we are not making the best out of that. We always want to advise them that they should remember that song by Bob Marley, that he who fights and run away lives to fight another day. This is my sermon for those who fail to criticize the government of their day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. I'm going to play this song later today. We also have Dr. Jibril Mohammed joining us. Doc, thank you for joining the conversation. Usually we give our guests a couple of minutes to walk us through their trail of thoughts. We just listened to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. What would you share with us this morning? And Doc, if you can hear me, please unmute.
Yeah, thank you, and good morning to all your listeners. My will have to do with what is happening currently in the financial market. Really, if you look at the Bank of Ghana release on 27th January 2027 on the state of the Ghanaian economy, especially regarding the Monetary Policy Committee report. The Monetary Policy Committee has maintained the report on the rate in the market. That is about 27% of the interest rate, which suggests that banks and other individuals will have to lend from the Bank of Ghana at 27%. And this is a bit staggering because I believe that the Monetary Policy Committee should have at least reduced the monetary policy rate so that we can have our rate coming down. And this can actually affect the market. I believe that, well, there are a lot of things that we really need to do as a country, especially the new government taking place currently. They have to put in place better structures to ensure that we have interest rates coming down so that we can free up the market for people to borrow at a relatively lower interest rate so that they can stimulate economic growth. So if you have a monetary policy rate being at 27% and the government is borrowing at a rate of 26%, what that means is that businesses will have to borrow close to 30-something percent. And this is really worrying as a nation because you have to open up the economy, and you cannot open up the economy with a very high interest rate. Suffice to add, if you look at inflation rate, it's still at a very high rate, about 23.8%, which means that on average, every individual is worse off by 23-point-something%. And this is really a very big problem. Both businesses and you and I on the studio are all going to be affected by this kind of rate that we are actually having on the market. And I believe that something can be done. The new government will have to up their game so that they can put in place better measures to ensure that we have a stable currency, we have a stable economy. Another important issue I think we have to raise is the fact that the Vice President office has been constituted. And when I look through, I could see that we have about 3 groups of people. For instance, one person in charge of finance and 2 others in charge of the economy, which means that given her background, she needs to be beefed up because she is the one who is going to be chairing the economic management team as a ceremonial person.
Right.
Which means that you really need somebody or some group of people who can give her a better advice on the economy so that she can push up something better to be able to stabilize the economy that we are seeing currently, because things are not well, and we have to put the economy in a better track. Thank you.
Dr. Jibril, thank you so much for those insightful initial comments. Let's get into the newspapers now. I have the Ghanaian Publisher, and I want to start from there. On the front page, Omane Boamah eats humble pie over GIS land grab claim. Then there's Opuni acquitted and discharged. My God has disgraced my enemies. Sahel states to participate in 2025 APD, and acting NPA boss pledges to lift petroleum sector. Let's start with the case of Opuni acquitted. It was just in the AM News this morning. The Attorney General has withdrawn all charges against Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni, a former Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, and Seydou Agongo, a businessman. Now, Ms. Enam Law Mensah, State Attorney, told the court, presided over by Justice Abuaji Tando, that the AG had instructed that the charges against the accused persons be withdrawn. And in fact, when we listened to him, he was saying that there was really no basis for those accusations in the first place. So he's just acquitted, he's elated, and his God has disgraced his enemies. Doc, I'll come to you in a bit. Let me just add 2 more stories. So the petition against EC chair don't meet removal threshold, according to former Attorney General Ayiko Otu. And he's arguing that the allegations against the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Jean Mensah, and others are not strong enough to warrant their dismissal. Quote, I have looked at it, and they do not think that they meet the very serious issues that one would want to look at when we want to remove the Electoral Commission. I don't see any of those things as very serious. And the last bit I want to add is Omane Boamah eats humble pie. Did he indeed eat humble pie? Defense Minister designate Dr. Edward Omane Boamah has beaten a hasty retreat over a social media post about claims of illegal encroachment attempt on Ghana International School lands at Cantonment in Accra by an unnamed businessman. And according to him, he had no evidence to buttress his claims as at the time of the allegations. And taking his stand before the appointment committee yesterday, Dr. Boamah, who had also implicated the then NPP government in the said land grab, insisted that he should have not also accused the government. I'm sure we followed the story yesterday in the appointments, the vetting yesterday. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on these 3 stories?
Yes, I'll start with Omane Boamah's vetting. I'm not sure what the paper is reporting is what happened. I mean, I'm not sure Dr. Boamah ate humble pie.
Yeah.
He spoke about what he knew about the situation and argued forcefully. And at a point in time, it became a very heated exchange between himself and the minority leader. And that I did not hear any point that he did say that I've taken back my words and that I'm sorry and all that. I am not sure that's exactly what happened. But for me, he acquitted himself well, and then he demonstrated knowledge about the subjects that were brought to the fore for discussion. And for me, that's a mark of somebody who has what it takes to be able to run a public office. It is true that, yes, this is the first phase. Then he will go to public office and see whether he will perform. But I have no doubt in my mind that he will be able to live up to expectation. All that he has to do is to listen and then apply himself to all the ideas given to him, and then work in hand with the bureaucrats. That's the way to go. The second issue, I want to look at the EC chair, and all the effort by those who want to get them out. Yes, Constitution allows you to level charges and then defend them, and then call for things of this nature. But you must be grounded in law to be able to get your request granted. So you and I know that it is a tall order if you want to remove people who are constitutionally placed in their offices. So they have to look at their their requests well, and then do all the fine tuning, and then see whether it will work. But I can assure them it's not easy to get constitutionally, mandated people like that, taking them out of office based on any, issue, any point that is not well grounded in law. They need to reflect on that if that is their goal. But we wish them well, provided they will succeed. The third issue is about Opuni's, a case that has come to an end. I'm not a lawyer, so all that I'll say that, yes, if that's what the law says, we are going with that. We will follow and then see what comes after that. And now the doctor who is free, we wish him good health and then good life, because it's not easy going through judicial process. Now that he's out, we wish him well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Dr. Jibril, are you still with us? Okay, I don't think we have Dr. Jibril yet. And when he joined, you are, right. Online. Okay, great. Yes. So your thoughts on these three stories? There's the Omanebuama allegedly eating humble pie from yesterday's vetting. Then there's the Oponi's acquittal and the petition against EC chair. But according to the former Attorney General, Ayiko Oyotu, he says these issues are not serious enough to warrant a removal of the electoral commissioner. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, I will pick the Dr. Opuni's case first. I think Dr. Opuni's and Stadio Agongo case has been in the media not today. This is about 8 years ago that this case started. And I believe that, I think the Attorney General has looked at the case extremely well and has realized that maybe the case does not have a merit. And that's how come that he has written that the case should be withdrawn from the court. I believe that arbitration can always be done at a quiet environment. So if the case is not really a case that they can continue in court, why should you continue to waste state resources in continuing to pursue such a case in court? Because you are wasting resources. The second point that I want to make is the fact that if you look at the one that Omanebuama's case, I believe that he rightly hit the nail on the head. I think his vetting was on the right point, and I believe that some of these things can always be handled at a quiet environment. Because looking at a land case scenario, I think Honorable Muntaka was also asked similar questions regarding grabbing of state lands, other things. And he indicated that he bought a state land on legitimate basis. So some of these things can always be handled on a legitimate point of view. The last point that has to do with the case of the EC chair. I believe that what Charlotte Osei was also removed on similar cases. But I don't know, I have not been able to read the case that they have tended against her. But I believe that if it is in the right direction, then the president can look at it. But otherwise, the state of the court or the law should be able to take its own course. We cannot continuously continue to remove electoral commission chairs because of one or two reasons. If the case merits her removal, then they can go ahead to do so. But on the side of the merit, if the case do not give a proper account of as to how she should be removed from the office, I believe that we have to exercise restraint on some of these things. It should not just be politics as usual, that all the time, when a new party comes into power, then we have to take out an electoral commission chair or something of that nature. I believe that we've got to do something better as a country. We have to be looking at cases on merit basis. So if she's going to be removed on the basis of the fact that she has to be removed because she has committed some breaches on the Constitution.
Well, indeed, that's what it is. I think the petition is saying that, they're accusing her of constitutional violations, incompetence, and bias, which has undermined public trust in the Electoral Commission. That's what they're saying. And it references the breaches of some articles, Article 42 of the 1992 Constitution, which guarantees citizens the right to vote, as well as Articles 23, 296, which emphasize fairness and impartiality in public service. So these are the issues that they raised in that petition.
So if the president sees that these issues are legitimate, and he believes that it warrants her removal, then I think that whatever was done to Charlotte Osei can equally be done in this particular case, because if indeed it warrants that she has committed those breaches, she's also not above the law. So every citizen of this republic, even including the president himself, is also not above the law. If the president does something that is infraction to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, the president can also be removed. So nobody is above the law in this particular country. So everybody is under the remit of the 1992 Constitution. Okay. So anything that you do that is not in the right order as a citizen of this republic, you must be dealt with in accordance with the law. That's what I have to say on this.
Thank you so much, Doc. Ben, let's do your paper.
Dr. Mohammed, it's good to see you.
Thank you, my brother. I think we were once mates.
We were indeed. We were. It's good to see you join the conversation.
Asah-Asante was our lecturer. I think the first
Indeed. You are getting into detail. So we are sitting at the feet of our former lecturer this morning.
Good morning, Mohammed. Good morning.
Anyway, the Ghanaian Times newspaper, homeless takeover Kwame Nkrumah interchange, pose threat to public. Appointments committee summons Oliver Barker-Vormawor over bribery allegation. Which song should I sing to this one? Okay, it is what it is. Ghana to get $150 million from World Bank to improve energy sector. Dr. Opuni Seidu Agongo acquitted, discharged by Accra High Court. I'll start from the back page where Nutekpo Naval Training Center gets mission bridge stimulator, I beg your pardon. And then Takoradi Technical University to begin nuclear science program. That got me interested. So the Takoradi Technical University will begin a nuclear science program this year. A council member of the TTU, Dr. Robert Ajay, has revealed. He believed that the program would enhance the vision and image of TTU in research, development, and service to society, noting that currently most of the universities do not deal directly with nuclear issues. So that's the situation. I see the paper used the word presently, and it's one of those fozami we often fall into. Presently versus currently. I'll be with you presently. Nutekpo Naval Training Center gets mission bridge stimulator, and a state-of-the-art full mission bridge stimulator was inaugurated at the Nutekpo Naval Training Center on Monday to facilitate the training of a world-class naval personnel in the South Tone district of the Volta region. The modern training facility was a collaboration between the government of Ghana, which provided the infrastructure at the cost of 5 million Ghana cedis, which housed the equipment, while the Royal Danish government provided the technology for Wasilla voyage at the cost of $1.37 million. So interesting developments there. I'll just add on a few stories, and then, gentlemen, I'll come to you for your reactions. I'll start from page 4 and then go to page 12. So on page 4, the chairman of the Appointments Committee of Parliament, Mr. Bernard Ahiafo, has directed the clerk to the committee to summon political activist and co-convener of Democracy Hub, Mr. Oliver Bakavomo, to appear before the committee today to substantiate allegations of bribery against its members. And as we hear it, there's no sitting today. It's just going to be Oliver Bakavomo if he honors the invitation. And I saw a post from him yesterday suggesting that he would, in fact, honor the invitation. And then I'll go quickly to page 12. That's where I'll cap it off for a breather. Homeless takeover Kwame Nkrumah interchange pose threat to the public. The number of homeless people living under the Kwame Nkrumah interchange at Circle in Accra is soaring. Gradually, the pavement and median section under the Circle interchange, particularly between the Kanishi station and Snit informal sector, is being turned into homes for the destitute, including men, women, and children, as well as the old and the young, the Ghanaian Times has observed. Quick reflections on these. I remember the former Greater Accra Regional Minister, Titus Glover, at a point when I believe it was the Flower Pot interchange, and he had to move that elderly woman who had set up shop there right after it was inaugurated. I didn't feel it was done in the best of taste, but she shouldn't also have been there. But how do we resolve these? Quick thoughts, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Doc. Asah-Asante.
Yeah, I'll start with the homeless story. It's unfortunate that when we talk about welfare policies, these are things that we expect government to do and do for its people, that you create homes for destitute so that they can also have roof over their heads. It is an inalienable right for people to have food and then in addition shelter. It is critical. So whilst we waste resources to do things that we don't need in this country, these are things I believe that if we channel resources in, we'll be able to save our society. Those people are entitled to homes, but that doesn't mean that where they find themselves is legitimate. No, but we need to create that opportunity so that we can get them off the streets and then create decent livelihoods or homes for them. I'll also touch on the TTU and their nuclear program. That is good news we want to hear. States that have developed out of science. And so if you don't step up your game relative to what scientific improvement, I'm afraid you are going to lag behind. So I am happy that they've taken the initiative by introducing such a beautiful program. We support them, but we should commit resources into supporting that school to develop it to the best of their ability so that the state can benefit from that. Countries that have developed based on such programs. And if Ghana want to take this route, I am all for it. The issue of the Navy, Ghana Navy, getting modern facility for training, thumbs up, it's a good one. But that means that we should get more of these things so that we prepare our security agents to be able to deal with the changing circumstances of our situation or our time. We should be able to help them to get themselves battle ready for anything that comes their way in defense of the state. It is critical. So I applaud the government for that. Oliver has made his own statement. And today, the good news is that you have his day in Parliament. For all of us are waiting to hear what will come out, and we'll follow from there.
All right. Dr. Mohammed, quick thoughts? You would have to unmute, Dr. Mohammed.
Thank you so much. I will pick the last one, Oliver. I believe that as a citizen, one has to be responsible for anything that you say that needs substantiation. So I hope that when he gets to Parliament this morning, he will be in a better position to tell them why he says so. He's been in the media for a very long time, especially making some of these claims and allegations. So today is his day, and the records must be set straight. For the issue of the science at one of the institutions, I believe that I equally share similar sentiments by my former lecturer. And I hope that this country, we got to put things in place and respect science, mathematics, and STEM. STEM is very important. Nations that have developed very well have benefited from STEM. So I hope that this country, we are going to put the better structures in place, invest more in STEM so that we can improve on this particular route. The last point has to do with, the third point has to do with the Navy. The Navy needs to be properly equipped with the necessary equipment or the necessary infrastructure so that they can protect our territorial water bodies. There are the people to protect our water bodies, protect the sea, and at the same time protect the oil sector. So I believe that if they are given the needed support and more investment is channeled towards that, they'll be able to stop all kinds of illegal activities in our territorial water bodies, especially patrolling and other related activities, pirating and all of that. They need to give this kind of protection. And the country must be respected for some of these things if we are able to do it and do it very well. For the issue of the social protection is very important. If you look at advanced countries, they have put in place safety nets to be able to protect their citizenry from some of these things. So we need to come up with a lot of homes, especially along these particular routes, that we are having some of these homeless people sleeping under the bridges that we have and all of that. We really need to provide that kind of protection. A very good country is a country where all of these social safety nets are provided for its citizens. You cannot have your citizens sleeping under bridges every day because they do not have homes. The state have to come out with such homes to be able to protect them because they are equally citizens who demand equal rights from the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Their inalienable rights must be protected. And one of them is having shelter to be able to sleep on. So if they do not have any roof over their heads, it is the responsibility of the state to provide some of these social amenities for them. Can you imagine where they are going to be defecating and doing all kinds of things?
Right.
This means that they are going to be destroying the environment. And we've got to protect the environment. We cannot leave the environment in such a manner. And people sleeping anywhere means that it's a distraction to the environment if it's
Right.
not a place that you opt to sleep. So I believe that authorities have listened and authorities have seen it, and they will provide the needed support for these homeless people. I think that this is what I have to say on this.
Right. It reminds me of our Clean Ghana enterprise, and the last time I believe we went to that area, with some of them living up somewhere into the interchange and the sort of rubbish that was brought out. Just some headlines to leave you with. Elephant tramples tourists to death in South Africa's iconic Kruger Park is the largest there. Nigerian extradited to U.S. for alleged sextortion, and Neymar set for Santos after Al Hilal deal terminated. It means it's in the offing. He's going to be leaving Saudi Arabia and heading back to his country, Brazil. Sweetie?
Yes, let's do other papers now. I have the Daily Searchlight. On the front page, NDC's hero turns villain, Bakavomawo to be... Well, we've dealt with that story already. Meridian Hotel poses danger to public life. On the ministerial vetting, Ghana must invest more in the military, according to Dr. Maneboama. And 3,000 delegates, 7 African heads of state, expected to attend the 2025 edition of the APD. I believe that is the African Prosperity Dialogue. Yesterday, Ben, you had a conversation on that. But the story in here that it's interesting. It's really how it started. A long, long road ahead. Gaza rebuilds from zero. And it reads, for Gazans displaced for the 15 months, the distance is not far. The Gaza Strip is a tiny place, but today's journey is just the start of a desperately uncertain future for this war-ravaged place. We know that that temporary ceasefire in November 2023 broke down, but both sides agreed to a new deal in just this month, January 15th there also, I think, and the UN is saying that it is now able to bring in 20,000 tents that have been stuck on the border since August, along with large quantities of tarpaulin and mattresses. But it says it's going to struggle to meet the sudden demand for shelter. We wish them well and hope that the journey to rebuilding Gaza from zero goes well. Two other stories quickly, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen. He demands a lot. Mohamed Kudus opens up on working with Graham Potter. I think that's West Ham manager. Black Stars midfielder Mohamed Kudus has disclosed that working with Graham Potter requires hard work. Potter was appointed West Ham United manager in January following the sacking of Julien Lopetegui. So we wish Mohamed Kudus well. And of course, hard work is demanded if you want to be excellent. One last story, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen. There was a story here that I wanted to get into. An editorial on how the government is probably failing us again when it comes to the cholera outbreak. 3 people have been reported dead. Last year, we heard it was about 21. And this month alone, we are hearing 3 more dead in Agona, Swedru, and surrounding towns in the central region. Of the 200 suspected cases reported, 11 have been confirmed as cholera by officials from the Swedru Municipal Government Hospital. I think we should really look at ways to tackle this head on. But over to you. Let me start with you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
I will start with the cholera outbreak. Gradually, we are getting to the level where our society, every time we are faced with such problems, we are quick to be worried about it briefly, and then later we don't care a hoot about what happens. It tells you that public policy towards dealing with what health issues is failing. Because if you have a policy and it's not working, you need to look at it again and see how best you can improve it. If it's not working, you terminate it altogether. I am not oblivious of the fact that the health ministry and the National Health Service have done so well to bring us this far, but there's much to be done. And that one, we expect society to also play their part. More often than not, where cholera exists, it tells you that they live in a filthy environment. We have not kept our environment clean, and we always have problems. I think going forward, we need to work these things out so as to save ourselves from unnecessary, illnesses. Issue of cholera, doctors will tell you it's unnecessary. If you're able to keep your environment clean, you save yourself from it. So things that we can do and avoid some of these costs, we have to do that. But we must also tighten policies that are geared towards resolving this problem. The issue about investing in the military is critical. The military, if you look at them all over the world, they are going through a lot of training and a lot of exercises. And that means that you have to always get your military prepared to a certain level so that it will be able to deal with situations they find themselves. I will urge government to invest so much in them because they are the last resort that we have when we are under attack. And then because the military, they don't come out to say things that affect them, from time to time, it is incumbent upon us to find out what is it that they need to be able to do their work and do them well. Because we need them at all times, but in top shape, And then name one of my favorite footballers of all time. His skill, finesse, and everything on the field, I love it so much. He's going back home, and where you start is where you end. And I have no doubts that he's going to inspire the young people of that place to live up to expectation. Ghana should take a cue from this and build talent, hunt for talent, develop them, let them build capacity so that we can also showcase them to the world. Neymar is one of the shining examples, but there are numerous Neymars in Ghana. What are we waiting for?
Thank you, Doc. Dr. Jibril.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll pick my thoughts first from the international scene. I think that Afghanistan has been in the news not today. I think Gaza, right?
Gaza?
Is it Gaza?
Yeah.
Gaza, okay. Gaza is I think is at Israel, right? This has been a long-standing historical antecedents dating back to 1940s thereabout. And even our good books have said a lot about it. As a Muslim, the Quran has said so much about it. And I believe so, the Bible has also said so much about it. So it's a war that continues unabated. But I believe that the Trump administration is going to, like they did the last time, they were able to tame down things. He visited the place and he was able to put things in place. I hope that he will turn the same energies towards them so that they'll be able to rebuild the place and make the place a quiet, a peaceful environment for the people to coexist among themselves. Both Israel and Palestine are brothers, and they opt not to be fighting among themselves. I believe that even though it's destined for them to do so, but I believe that with human intervention, we can always bring it to a very better condition. The second point has to do with the sports. Sports is very important, and everybody in Ghana loves sports. Can you imagine what happens anytime our black stars don't do very well? We turn up sacking our coaches, etc. It's because we have not been able to build the necessary talent. As my former lecturer said, we need to build the talent. We have such people in Ghana. It's just that the way and manner in which the sports committee works in Ghana is where the problem is. We aren't able to put in the best structures in place. We allowed money over competence, and we allowed relationships over competence. I hope that the Ghana Football Association will give away money and look for competence and skill so that we can make our people happy. Ghanaians are happy when we win most of our matches. To the extent that we lack the talent to be able to deliver is where the problem is. So we need to fix that. If we are able to fix that, we'll have a better environment and a better sport for all of us to enjoy. The next point has to do with the cholera. Cholera is a serious and
Dr. Mohammed, we have little time left, so maybe bite-sized comments so that we can get into others before we wrap.
So the cholera, we have to put in a better mechanism to end it. The new Minister of Health should put in place a better mechanism to stop this particular problem from continuing to happen. And finally, we need to invest heavily on our military because they are the people who protect us from external aggression. If we are not able to invest in them heavily, we will not be able to have a better country to live in. They are our protectors, and we need to invest in our protectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Benjamin, more papers?
Yes, quick thoughts. I remember Dr. Manibuama mentioning yesterday that military spending had dwindled over the last few years, for example, which then, per what Doc and Doc are saying, would be an area of interest, especially in respect of the geopolitics, what is happening in the sub-region, terrorism, and also even what is happening in the Sahel. So I guess some things would have to change. He spoke of a modern military. The Accra Times, my priorities for Upper East, Bolga Airport, Chuchuliga, Sandema to Riesi Road, and regional minister designates saying that anti-LGBTQI plus bill, I can't stay in an ungodly country, Speaker Bagman. Do you remember the last time he said he would prefer to die than... Edward Bauer storms GNPC as new CEO, grateful to President Mahama for the honor. Closure of witch camps, cautious engagement needed, Northeast Minister designate. And I've always said, I'm just reading headlines. I know we already know the stories. These witch camps, it's a two-pronged or multi-pronged issue, because on the one hand, if you leave some of them in their communities, they will be killed because they've been declared, branded evil. But on the other hand, we are the only country in the world, at least as far as I know, with witch camps. And sometimes even there, certain things happen. So it's a haven for some of them, so they don't get attacked. But at the same time, this witch camp logic, it's a matter on its own. President Mahama fulfills campaign promise for Goldbot. The news sent 7 presidents, 3,000 delegates to attend 2025 African Prosperity Dialogues. We spoke about that yesterday. The Custodian newspaper, a new EPA boss promises innovation. I'm talking about Eduji Tamaklo. And Baumia lists 7 threats to African democracy. And today, we're going to be getting into some of the issues he made mention of and why we are stuck where we are as Africans. Sweetie.
Yes, let me just leave you with these headlines. BC back to pre-COVID June calendar. NPA CEO pledges to improve authority. And let me just chip in this. The story is on myjoyonline.com, so you can read it for yourself. EPA orders immediate cessation to mining in water bodies. And they have a statement signed by the new EPA boss, Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche. And they're saying that in accordance with Section 2 and 3B of the Environmental Protection Act, the EPA is hereby issuing this urgent directive to all individuals and entities involved in illegal mining, aka galamsey, and other unauthorized operations in water bodies, both small-scale and large-scale, are instructed to cease all activities with immediate effect. I like to see it. But that's all that time will allow us for. Let's come for your concluding thoughts. Dr. Jibril, let me start with you.
Well, let me just end by saying that as a country, we have to do the right thing. And some of these things has to do with the ministers and the CEOs who have been put in charge currently. I think that the Ghanaian people restored the confidence in you. That is how come that they gave you the power.
Right.
So you opt to deliver beyond expectations. Overwhelming endorsement of the NDC simply means that you have been given the absolute power and the absolute mandate to be able to deliver. If you fail to deliver, you will face the people in 4 years' time.
All right,
so
Doc, that's all that we can do for now.
Right.
Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, please do this in about 30 seconds for us.
Yes, I don't know what the 7 threats to democracy in Africa, but whatever Dr. Baumia has, I will add a few. And one is that abuse of power. If we have leaders who continue to abuse power, democracy will always win. And then issue of corruption, if we don't fight it head on, I'm afraid our democracy will be a mirage.
Thank you so much. There's Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, Head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and also Dr. Jibril Mohammed, financial economist and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Please stay. Sports comes up next.